I think black people are wired differently. Yes, I believe that we where we come from, where we evolve. Every other
What that you got to define that. I define that as slavery. What you mean come from and evolve? What that means?
Africa. Where we come from. I'm not even talking about slavery. I'm talking about Africa. Where we come from.
And so be specific. What about that?
We evolved to live on the savannah. We evolved to live.
Oh my good Lord.
Just
Bro,
like white people evolved.
You trying to say there is one terrain on Africa?
No, listen. I'm talking about sub-Saharan Africans. And I'm talking
slavery happened from across the continent.
I'm not talking about slavery. I'm talking about Africa.
So how you talking about the people here?
Because they are descendants of Africans.
Of slaves.
Because they're descendants of Africans.
So then you have to spread out your search past sub-Saharan Africa.
Listen. I believe that black people are wired differently.
In what way?
We have a different way of thinking. Our minds work differently. Black people are. If you look at black people and if you look at black people are more expressive. We're more expressive. Look at all the memes.
What that means?
Oh, listen.
I'm trying to figure out
It means that we're more
expressive,
emotional.
But what does that mean?
Okay, if you're more expressive, you're liable to act more, to act out more, to be less impulsive. I mean, to be more impulsive. Yeah, to be less restricted, less inhibited, less inhibited. I think that a black person is more likely to laugh out loud. Hold on, let me say. Yeah. I think a black person is more likely to laugh out loud when he hears something funny. I think a black person is more likely to gesticulate and make more type of hand motions when he's talking. I think a black person is more likely to, facial expression when he feels a certain type of emotion. I believe that black people are more likely to dance when they hear a beat. I think that black people are more likely to, we're just a more expressive people. So when you put that in the face of emotions, and we're much more emotional. We react much more emotionally.
And you saying because we're emotional, we kill each other?
No, because we're more emotionally, we're more expressive. We grow up.
Man, what's the part about the killing? All this expressive.
Well, I have to get to it.
Okay.
I mean, don't you want me to?
I heard the expressive and all of that. I'm trying to get to where you getting at with it, because what I would put it to with what you said so far is okay, you saying we're more express first. Our brains are different from. That's like an old, old white supremacist thing that they've been doing.
So you think your brain is the same as a white man?
Generally, humans have the same.
No, I do, but I mean different. Same is different. Just like we both have on shoes. We both have on shoes, but our shoes are different.
I think we have different culture, which makes us use our brains differently.
So you think that
humans are generally humans across the board?
So you think that there's no difference between you and a white man except for your skin color?
And my culture?
No, I mean physically.
And therefore my philosophy?
No, physically, your body.
What you mean?
Do you think that there's any other difference?
Do I think if a white man dies, they can put his heart into me if it fits? Yes.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what you asking?
Do you think that there are any other differences between you, a white man, an Asian man, Arab man, whatever? Do you think that there's any?
Seem to be pretty much interchangeable in Western medicine, so no.
No, not medicine. I'm talking about.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean.
Like for instance, black people have longer limbs.
Than who?
Than any other race. This is just fact. This is how they tell the race of the person when they find bones. The black people have longer limbs.
Bro.
It's a fact. Black people have longer limbs.
Now you jumping into archaeology.
Black people have.
Now you jumping into
No, this is not. This is medicine.
That's not medicine. You just said when they find bones, that's archaeology.
No, if you died and we buried you in the yard, then
you're talking about forensics.
I'm talking about your body. The black body is different. Asian people are relatively shorter. The majority of them are shorter. Now, they have.
God, dude, look. Here's the thing, right?
You don't think that you haven't noticed differences in the races? You don't notice that white people
noticed is that
have longer noses?
What I've noticed is that white people classify everything, and most people who believe in the ability to classify things start saying, "Oh, this guy looks like that, and that girl looks like that," and usually they wrong as shit. And to boot, most of that what you're talking about with the archaeology, even forensic science, be changing and changing and changing and adapting so that it can fit into the statistics. What makes it work?
Look at your hair and look at my hair.
What about it?
Is that different than Is that different than the other races?
I'm not comprehending what that has to do with it.
Obviously, the differences between us and white people, although we're the same species, there are still
we're different. I guess technically different species of the same
phylum,
whatever. Right? Like you got.
I think we're the same species because we can
Rottweilers and you got Labradors.
Right.
Right.
Now you wouldn't. No one would argue. No one would get upset if I said that a Rottweiler and a Labrador were different, had different brains. Their brains work differently.
No, that I would be like, that is weird because they're both dogs. That's a dog can be trained.
So you don't think there's difference between a Rottweiler's brain and a Labrador Retriever's brain?
Not so much, no. Not brain.
But a Labrador is a retriever. It retrieves. It instinctually retrieves things. A Rottweiler's an attack dog.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Now I understand what you're saying, and I still disagree. What you're defining as your brain, which is a physiological thing, it is how you're physically made up, is not different from the next being that is a human. No, you have a different philosophy, which is why I've been starting off this conversation to say black people need to start businesses. The reason I'm going back to that is once you start saying a Doberman Retriever, I guess, has the instinct to retrieve things, whereas a Rottweiler is like a guard dog, so it has the instinct to sit still and growl, right? The difference between those philosophies is the requirement of the job.
No, they're born like that.
Yeah, they're born like that into their sense memory.
You can't.
I'm not finished. They're born like that into their sense memory. But you're gonna tell me you can't make a guard dog out of a lab? You can make a guard dog out of a lab, just like you can make a retriever out of a Rottweiler. He might be slow as hell.
Okay.
Okay. So the point I'm making to you is the physiology is generally the same between the two. Higher, lower, this species, that species, they're basically the same. It's the philosophy. That's why I couldn't figure. No, the brain is the same brain. It's what's going on in that brain. And what I'm saying is the philosophy that makes each one of those ones choose what to do is largely caused by sense memory and environment. Right? So you're saying we came out of the plains or something?
Well, we evolved in a savanna. We evolved in arable land, in a jungle, a rainforest.
Say for yourself.
We evolved in a very temperate climate.
That's not my cultural story. So
a temperate climate. Your descendants are not from Africa?
Partially.
I've seen your parents. They look like descendants from Africans.
You see my mother?
She looked like, yes, she has white admixture, but she's definitely.
My mother doesn't have white admixture.
So what does she have? Indian admixture?
Native admixture. Yeah.
Okay, so those people evolved in North America in a different climate than. So what are you saying? Are you saying you're Native American and not a black person?
What are you saying?
I'm asking you.
I'm saying you said we doof, which is not even true for all of whatever you're describing. So I have to start putting it back. Like, okay, describe for yourself, bro, because it's untrue. Like if you from Ghana, whatever you're describing right now is completely untrue. What was you about to say about the plains and savannas? And
well, Ghana just exists.
If you're from Ghana, that's completely untrue.
But there's no such thing. There was no such thing as Ghana, though. And when the period I'm talking about, there was no such thing as Ghana. There were no countries
in that area, which is currently called Ghana. What you talking about ain't true. About the savannas and all of that, it's not true. That's not even the climate.
But is it a temperate?
That's not it.
Is there? Does it snow? Is it like it's a?
What
it's a
does that have to do with it?
It's a tropical climate. Where we came from was where our people evolved is in the tropical.
Describe for yourself.
So you didn't
say describe for
yourself. So Ghana's not
I'm not Nigerian.
But you don't know if you don't know where your ancestors that were from Africa came from. You don't know where they came from.
I haven't been told.
Right.
So that's why I can easily say if I was Ethiopian, that ain't true. If I was from Ghana,
Ethiopia
that ain't true.
is not does not have
the Savannah Plain is very dry and arid. What are you saying to me?
No, when I'm talking about it, I meant to say tropical.
Okay, it's dry and arid versus Savannah Plain, which you were just describing in jungles and shit. Bruh, what I'm saying is what your blanket description is not true.
Yeah, there's all different types of black people. Yes, I agree with that.
That's the point I'm making.
There's definitely all types. You have Nilos, you have Khoisan, you have Bantus, you have Horn Africans like the Somalians and the Ethiopians. Definitely.
Yeah. So having said that, brain will be one kind of brain. Culture will be different everywhere you go. Humans got pretty much the same physiology. That's why if I get in a car accident, they gonna put my heart in a Mexican. He don't care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He gonna be living.
Right.
You dig me?
Yeah.
So the difference comes down to, do I eat the same as you? Do I talk the same as you? Do I decide to do the same as you?
But I bet if they put a black man's brain in a Mexican, he would start acting like a black man. He wouldn't act like a Mexican anymore. Whereas if you put a black man's heart in a Mexican, he would still act like a Mexican.
That sounds pretty freaking weird.
Do y'all understand what I'm saying? If you put a black, hold on, let me ask you. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? If you took a black man's heart and put it in a Mexican, the Mexican would still behave like a Mexican. But if you put a black man's brain in a Mexican, the Mexican would then behave like a black man. Okay, they understand what I'm saying. Do you get that? The heart the brain is the command center. The heart just pumps the blood. So that is a different purpose than the brain. The brain is the command center. It controls
what you are saying is, if I take a brain that already has all the sense memory, all the environmental memory, all the expression that is a human, and put it into another human, they're going to think like the first human. Well, in Frankenstein world, yeah, sure. What I'm talking about if you are Mexican and you born in an all-black neighborhood, you're going to think like what? Come on, man. You're going to talk like what? You're going to think like what?
Yeah, but that's nurture.
It's environment. It is culture. It is not your brain. It is how you are nurtured, lifted, instructed by the environment.
But what made it a black neighborhood that the Mexican was living in?
White people, redlining. What you mean?
No, a bunch of black people with black brains made that a black neighborhood.
It a black neighborhood where you have a concentration of blacks who have this particular opportunity in front of them was white redlining. Now, you're talking about the philosophy that they have amongst themselves. Now that they're in this situation, that starts to fall into the side of what we have to deal with, not what we wanted to deal with.
Okay. So, does anybody have any questions for our brother Ross?
A good question would be good.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes, it's all white people's fault. What didn't happen everywhere, Jake? Cornelius ignoring behavior of whom?
Of black people. You're ignoring the differences in behavior amongst the races. The races
What's that?
The races behave differently.
The race?
The races behave differently, slightly and subtly in some cases, and then overtly in other cases.
My answer to most of what you seem to be describing is slavery.
So you're saying black people
were trained to do this, and
so you're saying
against this.
So you're saying that when they grabbed those niggas out the jungle, they were white men, and they were basically just like white people, but then they brought them over here and they changed them.
You took it a whole nother direction.
No, you said, but basically said, because if think about it, why does Africa look the way it does now? Why is Africa the way it is? Africa's full of war. Nigeria has more oil than any country in the world. You have people walking around starving. You have massive poverty. Why?
You're confusing the shit out of me with the Africa talk. First of all,
why
would I know all of that? You know what I mean?
Because aren't you a descendant of Africans?
In part, yeah, I guess through slavery.
So you only see the world through slavery.
I'm from here, bro. I'm not from Nigeria. That's what I keep trying to tell you.
No, I got that. I definitely understand that. But what I'm saying is, so you don't think of yourself as you think of yourself as a product of slavery and not a product of Africa.
The fuck does that mean?
Like, the slaves came from Africa.
Right.
Then there was slavery. And then out of that came the African American. So you see yourself as a product of slavery, not a product of Africa.
I see what I am now as a product of slavery.
Okay.
I guess that's the easiest way to answer your question.
So you see yourself as a product?
Because I have ancestry from all of it. Everything that took place in slavery, I have the ancestry of.
You have white, you have Native American, and you have black.
I have French, Choctaw, and black, yeah.
What is French? That's white.
Okay.
Okay. So you have white. Okay. You have.
Because you got to recognize white culture is, English white culture is not the same as Spanish white culture. Is not the same as French white culture.
I got you.
Slavic white culture.
True.
So, yeah, they band together once they came to this shore.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. Against you, they did.
No, you were just
against you. They did, and wrote it in the law.
I mean, we were just
and reinforced it in the law till today.
Well, I mean, whatever. But the white man been fighting at each other's necks.
Against each other?
Yes.
And?
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that black people were I don't think that black people were as I don't think we were as big of a piece as we are now. I think we evolved into being a big piece. I think we were just slavery.
What that means?
We were
the entire economy of the country. What are you talking about?
No, there were other things being
slavery and the trade of the goods that slaves harvested was the economy. What are you talking about?
Right, but I don't think that black people I don't think that there had to been. I think it was just what it was. We were just slaves. Like, I don't think it was this big deep thing like white supremacy, yada yada. I think that they were. These were the people that used as slaves.
What was 2% of the? Speak up, Dylan. What was 2% of the economy? What was 2% of the economy in particular? The economy of the North was built on transmitting and shipping out the goods that were made in the South. What are you talking about? America has always run on slavery. What was run from slaves? The what? Babes benefited from the slaves benefited from the you're bugging, bro. Do you understand how economy works? Right? Like, the government runs off the economy, bro.
So you're saying that
the gross domestic product having been produced on the backs of slaves ran the U.S. government? Yes.
Okay.
That's what taxes are.
Right. But do you think that at that time it was a different dynamic? Like, they were just going over there trading with the African chiefs for labor? Or do you think that they were like the Europeans?
They did what now?
They were trading with the African chiefs were selling slaves.
Right.
So they were trading rum, trinkets, bangles, shiny objects for slaves.
Okay.
So it was just a trade at that time.
I'm missing what you're saying, but
what I'm saying is that could it be that that's all it was? That it wasn't like, oh, we hate black people, or we are trying to do this to black people. Could it just be like these chiefs over here are selling their people.
According to there's several sources that slavery was determined to be a skin color based system.
Yeah, after it started. Yeah.
After they brought the slaves, when it was De Soto or whoever brought the slaves back to the Vatican, they decided it is a skin color based system. So I'm missing your question.
Okay, but originally it was just a. But
what you mean originally? He wasn't in it before that.
Yes, well, Africans were slaves, were in the Arab slave trade for tens of thousands of years. Arabs traded black African slaves.
We was talking about white folks.
Right.
But what I'm talking about trinkets.
No, you said that we were not slaves before then.
We was talking about white folks.
All right. Well then, so let's talk about white folks again. So white folks came over to a people that were already being enslaved, to a people that already practiced slavery.
Vladimir, slaves are responsible for taxes, friend. So all that rest of the financial didn't run off. The financial wouldn't have had anything to trade if there wasn't for slaves. But what?
So you're saying that these European countries didn't have anything to trade?
I'm missing what you're saying.
You said they wouldn't have had anything to trade.
I'm saying the North wouldn't have anything to trade, wouldn't have any financial to trade if the South wasn't trading. That's what I'm saying. The goods that the North made all the financial money for wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for the South trading. That's what
the South created the raw material, the North manufactured.
Shipped it out.
Well, they had to remanufacture it in
That's called doing what? Exporting.
No, I mean they had to turn it into something. They had to take the cotton and turn it into clothes.
Right. To do what?
To buy sell.
Okay. So back
and
to
the
your
sugar
question, which is what you said.
And the sugar and the tobacco.
All that stuff, what they was trading for what? Slaves and money, right? Okay. So what was your question?
Well, I really didn't have a question.
You said something about trinkets and trading trinkets to the.
Okay, so if you have a people in Africa that had already practiced in slavery amongst each other and were being enslaved prolifically by the Arabs. So slavery on the African continent when the white man shows up is on level 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, when the white man shows up on the continent, slavery is at a level 10. Would anybody in the chat room agree with me on that? That when the white man shows up in Africa, slavery is already on a level 10. Like, Africans are enslaving each other. The Arab slave trade is in full blast. So what I'm saying is, do you feel like that do you hold any of the onus on the Africans? Do you give any of the onus of slavery on the Africans?
What the fuck? That's like
I'm asking.
That's like saying if I was already a pimp, am I
and you sold your hoes to another pimp?
If I was already a pimp.
And you sold your hoes to another pimp.
And he went and did some horrible shit to them. Is it my fault?
Yeah.
Fuck them all. I mean, what kind of question is that?
It's a logical question.
No, I'm saying fuck them all is the answer. From a slave position. I don't have there's no good guy in the story in what you just presented.
Okay. So everybody is equal is everybody's culpable for the state of the African American, what became the African American.
Particularly those who owned and instilled the institution of slavery in this country.
So the person who initially caught you out of your house and sold you to some people is less culpable than the person who bought you and worked you.
That's an odd position because you have to understand that the report is that African slavery, you could get out of slavery.
No, when that's a lie. That's a Hotep bullshit.
That's African. That I would have to be like.
I know.
When you say
I know.
shit, that'd be like, okay, pull out your books.
No, I'll show you later. Listen, African slavery. When the slave master died, all his slaves were slaughtered and buried and buried with him. So there was
as big a country.
No, that was that
big a continent. Excuse me.
No, that was the custom.
Africa is as big a continent
in west of Africa.
As many different customs as they have across that continent. Please refrain from saying in Africa they did whatever.
Well, in the slave coast, which we know as the West, what we would know as Western Africa, that was the custom amongst the chiefs. They believed in the afterlife.
Amongst which chiefs?
That your slaves.
Amongst which chiefs?
Amongst that was a
you
very.
You say Akan chiefs did that? Do you know?
I would say, listen. That was the custom.
Amongst who?
That was how you did it. When you died, your
That's
slaves were buried with
say
you.
For yourself. You have to say for the people who you know that.
If I told you all the names of the tribe, the Ife, the Fan, the Fulani, if I named every fucking tribe in Africa, like goddamn, dude.
Can you say the Akan specifically? AKAN. Can you say specifically you know the Akan did that? And if you can't, then you can't just blanket the coast of Africa like that.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right.
And again, I'm saying with all of the blanket generalizations, if you're talking about this country,
so
cool.
All right. Let's just say
all the stuff we.
Let's just say slavery in Africa was fun. It was fun, and it was.
Who said that?
And it was 9 to 5. You got off when they treated you good in slavery in Africa. Okay, and then they let you go at some point. All right, let's just say that.
All I'm saying is I wouldn't know. Ultimately.
All right, I'll give you that. Listen, I ain't arguing that. Then, if the slave trade evolves over there, and slavery becomes business, these white people are showing up on the coast with boats, and they're passing out, and they're trading things that Africans don't. Those people in that part of Africans didn't have, and they're trading that for, and the only thing they want to return is slaves. They don't want anything else. They don't want your lumber. They want slaves, and they have this. They have things that you don't produce. The people who practiced and contributed to the slave trade, you're saying that they're less culpable than the people.
You're saying that.
No,
I don't. You. What I'm saying to you is you're putting the supposition that that if they sold you, are they as responsible as the people that you were sold to? I've already made the statement that they wouldn't have known what they were selling you into.
I agree with that.
Okay, that it wraps as much as I would know of that. I told you where I got that report from.
They thought the white people were eating them.
Okay, that makes sense. And your point in all this is what?
Well, my point is that.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, because you're saying that Africans sold each other to be eaten, that means that you have the tendency to be a cannibal?
No, I'm not saying nothing like that.
Where are you going with this?
What I'm saying is, it's a more complicated thing than just with the white man. It's a more complicated story than just the white man.